MCMULLIN is with us now. He's a former CIA operative who ran for president as an independent alternative to Donald Trump. He was before that a Republican House staffer. Thank you so much for joining us, Evan. Always good to see you.
Great to be with you, Jay.
So you were a CIA officer.
I was.
CNN's Evan Perez has reported that the intelligence community, the U.S. intelligence community, believes that Russia's ambassador Sergei Kislyak is not just an ambassador, but he is a spy, and he's also a spy recruiter. Was that your understanding when you were at the agency?
Yes, that is my understanding, but why it's significant is that you have somebody with enormous access here in Washington as an ambassador, engaging with some of our senior-most officials in Congress and elsewhere, who also has the skills that a spy would have to extract important information and to help run covert operations. And so that's the kind of person we're dealing with here. It doesn't mean that all of Ambassador Kislyak's activities are related to espionage, but it means he is a skilled practitioner of such operations.
Of spycraft.
That's right.
Can you give me just a kind of understanding of what that means exactly? He has skills in persuasion and extracting information when people don't want to give that information. What exactly do you mean?
He would have skills in compromising people, first and foremost, so that...
Potentially blackmailing them.
Blackmailing, but it's not just blackmail. It's not as dramatic as that. It's about slowly easing people into a situation in which they're revealing information that they shouldn't reveal, that compromises them, which makes it easier to get additional information and additionally compromise them into the future until you have something that amounts to a covert operation in which they're working on behalf of you. That's what his job would be.
But as you point out, he also is the ambassador and,
yes,
and assuredly does things along those lines as well.
That's right.
When Senator Sessions says that he met with the ambassador in his Senate office in September, but he did it as a senator, not as a Trump surrogate, and he did it as a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and for no other reason. Is it not possible that that's true?
Absolutely, that's possible. In fact, if Senator Sessions, while under oath, had simply said, yes, I met with Ambassador Kislyak on this day at this time or in this general time frame, and we discussed A, B, and C, this was a part of my normal senatorial responsibilities, and just left it at that, there may have been some follow-up questions. Some people may have been concerned given Sessions' role with the Trump campaign, but it would have been within the norms of regular senatorial activities. The problem is that Sessions, on more than one occasion, refused to reveal the truth. And I think part of the problem here is that now we find ourselves in a situation where we're parsing his words, parsing the words of others. But this was not some obscure issue. Trump campaign relations with the Russian government is perhaps the issue of the year so far in a way. And it's unimaginable that Senator Sessions would enter that interview with the panel in the Senate and not know that that question would come up, and then forget, for example, that he met with the ambassador.
And he keeps parsing. He keeps saying things. I never met with any Russian to discuss the campaign. Well, maybe he did to discuss the lifting of sanctions, but that wouldn't qualify.
Well, it's hard to imagine that in the context, in that time frame when he met Ambassador Kislyak in his office, that the campaign didn't come up. How could it not? Everyone was discussing that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that would have been of supreme importance to the Russian ambassador, as well as to Senator Sessions. And so it's hard to believe that the campaign would not have come up. It's a bit of a problem if it did come up because Senator Sessions was engaged in campaign activities. And so if he's going to discuss campaign activities, that should happen off campus. That should not happen in the Capitol building in his official capacity. So that's a problem, too, that is separate from espionage. And that may be also what he's trying to protect. But then you have sort of the question of whether the Trump campaign was complicit or knowledgeable in the Russians' attack on our democracy during the election. The biggest issue here, though, is, Jake, that Senator Sessions did not tell the truth while under oath. And I will not accept that he simply didn't believe that's what he was being asked or that he forgot. I think this serves to erode Americans' confidence in our leaders. I think we have a big problem with that. And I think it's time to call a spade and say that Senator Sessions lied, and I think he should be held accountable.
Do you think he should resign?
I do think he should resign.
Do you think that the Republicans and Senate and senators, the Republican House and Senate, and you used to be a Republican House staffer, are taking this Russia thing, this Russia controversy, seriously enough? Do you think the House and Senate Intelligence Committee investigations are sufficient at this point?
I do not think they're sufficient. I think that Republican leaders in Congress understand this is a very, very serious issue. But they're faced with dealing with this issue and their desire to minimize the political consequences of this terrible situation, and at the same time advance some policy goals that they've had for a long, long time that they view as very, very important. So they're caught between a rock and many hard places. But the simple fact in my mind is that we must first protect our democracy. And it is under attack now, as democracies in Europe are, by the Russian government. And we have got to make sure that there is accountability for what happened during the election. And we have got to know the truth about whether the Trump campaign was knowledgeable of these attacks, whether they were complicit. We've got to know the truth behind this. And no, I don't think the Senate investigations, the Senate and the House Intel Committee investigations are sufficient.
All right, Evan McMullin, always good to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Coming up on The Hunt, Senator Rand Paul leading the search for a copy